Jamie, Joseph and Miriam finished their conversation in the temple courts with Anna and stood. This would have been the time of all times to feel smug. Jamie was about to go with his father from the court of women into the court of Israel, where Miriam would never be allowed to go. But he couldn't triumph as he usually would at his astounding cleverness at having been born a boy. Something about Anna's story had made him see things differently, at least for now. As they walked towards the gate, a boy caught Jamie's eye. It was Cleopas from his own town of Nazareth, still at the synagogue school with Jamie, although several years older. Clop, as he was known to his many, many friends, pushed his lopsided, untidy hair out of his eyes and grinned his lopsided, untidy grin when he spotted Jamie. He was with his parents, his grown-up brothers, and the only one of his big sisters not yet married. They were just sitting down to eat a fellowship meal together when Eli, the father, glanced over and bobbed back up again to his feet. "No, Joseph, isn't it? Peace be with you. What a fortunate meeting. You remember my wife, I'm sure." And the kind man went round his whole family, introducing them by name. Cleopas, though hard to pronounce, was even harder to forget, but the rest became a blur. Jamie hoped there wouldn't be a test. Joseph looked awkward. He couldn't very well not draw near since he was being introduced, but he was always sensitive about seeming to want help, since it was hard bringing Jamie up on his own. Jamie could see he was worried it might look as if they were hanging around hoping to be offered lunch. Jamie didn't mind about that. He was hoping to be offered lunch. The roast lamb smelled good. Joseph quickly introduced his little group and was about to scurry off when, sure enough, the hospitality that culture was famous for came bubbling out. "Please, when you've made your sacrifice, won't you join us?" begged Eli. "We're celebrating God's goodness to us. The more of us there are, the more thanks we can give." "That's very kind," said Joseph, "but we should get Mim back to her mother." "She won't mind," said Miriam. Joseph was about to come up with another excuse when Clop's unmarried big sister, who Jamie was pretty sure was called Mary, looked up and smiled. Joseph gaped at her as if she'd punched him in the stomach, and then remembered several important reasons why actually it would be perfectly fine for them to stay for quite a long while. He couldn't speak, but managed to say something that sounded like, "I think we'll," and pointed to the court of Israel. Mary scooched along the blanket she was sitting on and invited Miriam to join her. Miriam was thrilled, whispering something to Mary. Mary smiled and whispered back. They were obviously going to get on well. "We won't be long," said Jamie, hoping he too would be able to sit with this pretty lady when he returned. "Don't worry, we'll save you some food," laughed Mary, and there it was, that look, the look that Jamie craved more than anything. A mother's kindness and teasing fun, but from a woman much younger than Anna. Mary was nearly the same age Jamie's mother would have been if only she'd lived. He beamed at her, completely smitten. Then he and Joseph went through the gate into the next court to make their sacrifice, the final onion ring of the temple for all but the priests. After they'd made their sacrifice and they came back out again, Jamie confided to Joseph, "I hope I get to sit near Mary." "Yes," said Joseph, going glazy-eyed at the prospect. Jamie raced over to the group, and sure enough, Clop budged up on the blanket to make room for him between himself and Mary. Joseph sank down opposite, grateful not to draw attention to himself, though Eli welcomed him back and made sure that his cup was filled. Jamie launched right in. It was a wonderful meal, to be part of such a big family, all laughing and chatting and passing each other food. Clop was hilarious. Jamie felt great to be joking alongside him. He'd never dared speak to him before. Miriam seemed to be enjoying the extra company too. She didn't look quite so studious as usual, and even giggled a few times. Jamie hadn't been convinced she knew how to giggle. Joseph didn't laugh much, or say much, or eat much, but his shy smile showed that he was happy they'd stayed. Then an actual priest and his wife came over, and to Jamie's delight, the grey-haired couple sat in the place of honour next to Eli. Mary explained that her mother was a cousin of the priest's wife, Elizabeth. Jamie had never spent longer with a priest than the time it took to make a sacrifice. He almost expected them to hover above the picnic with a holy glow, not to eat or sit down like normal people. But Zechariah was reassuringly normal and nice. He put everyone at ease and was particularly good at making sure that Jamie, Miriam and Klopp didn't feel left out of what he said, which Jamie noted with approval. Rabbi Asher in Nazareth never bothered to talk to children except when he had to teach them. Jamie couldn't help looking around with concern, even so. Are they going to bring their family too? This sharing was fun, especially as it was someone else's food. But if Zechariah and Elizabeth brought a family of a similar size to Eli's, there might be a danger of the food running out. It's just the two of them, said Mary. They were never able to have children. Oh, said Jamie, trying not to sound pleased. They all felt like a little nap once the meal was done, so they went their separate ways, wishing each other joy in the coming festival. Back at their lodgings, Miriam's parents, Dinah and Mathan, were very interested to hear about the family they'd met. We weren't going to stay, explained Miriam, but Uncle Joseph changed his mind. Yes, it was when it occurred to me that we might be under your feet if we came home early, said Joseph. It was when Mary smiled at you, Jamie reminded him helpfully. Dinah and Mathan's eyes slid straight over to Joseph, as if they were worked by a string, and their eyebrows shot up inquiringly, almost into their hairlines. No, I don't think so, said Joseph, concentrating hard on the sandal he was polishing. I just thought we might be in the way here. We didn't really know Mary's family, said Jamie. We hardly ever saw them in the street, and I never talked to Klopp. But now we're friends. Wouldn't it be great if we saw them again? I hope we do. Yes, Jamie, I'm sure you will, said Dinah, throwing Joseph a very significant look.